A large part of constructing a successful media product is through audience feedback. Firstly, before I could conduct any research, I had to work out who my audience is going to be. I decided that the age of my target audience will be from 20 to 35 due to the adult themes featured within my film, but because the theme will feature more younger adult characters, my audience will mainly consist of younger adults. My target audience will sit in the C2 to B socioeconomic group categories, and my audience will be primarily interested in films that diverts their attention away from the stresses of their own life and become involved in the life of someone on screen. I created an audience profile of someone who would typically be interested in my film. This made my research a lot easier because I would now be able to specifically pick out members of my audience who would be appropriate to ask questions from. After I had established my target audience and finalised my short film idea, I created an online questionnaire that I would be able to share through different media platforms. This was an extremely efficient way of distributing my questionnaire because it took no time at all to send it out to all my followers on social media sites, whereas I would usually have to print each questionnaire out and hand the questionnaires out. The software I used was SurveyMonkey. This was a very helpful program because it would automatically create tables and graphs relevant to my results from my questionnaire. All of this meant that I could get a lot of results very quickly and without me making any mistakes when working out the statistics from the results. The questionnaire that I put out asked questions about specifically what would work best in the film and how I should represent certain things. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use dialogue in my short film, so I put the question in my questionnaire for my audience to decide. So the first questionnaire particularly helped with anything I wasn't entirely sure about. After creating the first edit for my short film, I received feedback from my peers, who will most likely have a better understanding of the editing and filming process of a film, as opposed to if I gain feedback from my audience. This is important because I wanted to gain feedback about the quality of my cinematography, the pacing of my film, the way the characters are presented, how well do they think I have targeted the audience, how effective is the dialogue, how well have I produced the music, and how successful the editing is. These are all more technical factors that have a big impact on the flow and feel of my film. I asked two of my peers to look at my film and make in-depth notes about what was good and how I could improve my film. I then could condense the notes down to make specific plans for what changes I wanted to make for my film. This was a helpful process because the feedback I received was much more open and much more precise about the changes that I needed to make, as opposed to receiving lots of statistics. One of the changes that was suggested I do was retake a shot where the camera quality is affected by the lighting to give a strange effect across the camera lens. I was able to fix this, which made for a film which had better continuity between shots. When coming up with the poster design for my short film, I created 3 different designs that I liked equally, but could not decide which poster I wanted to use for my final design. I decided that a quick way to decide would be to put out the posters on a table and ask different people within my target audience to stick a post-it note on their favourite poster. I also asked people why they made their decision, which allowed me to get some feedback about certain elements of the poster which they liked and why they thought it was better than the other posters. Some people said that they preferred the simplicity of the poster I ended up choosing because it was much more eye-catching. The good thing about this type of audience feedback was that it was extremely quick. I got a lot of respondents because people weren't put off by a long questionnaire. All they had to do was stick a post-it note on a paper. Because of this, it was very efficient and I was able to start work on my poster immediately after seeing the results. The most important thing that I've learned from receiving audience feedback is that the feedback I received had a massive impact on the way I produced my film. If I didn't conduct any audience feedback at all, I would have produced a very different film that my audience wouldn't have been as interested in. For example, I could have ended up making a completely different poster, or I could have made a film with no dialogue. Having conducted the research, I have done my best to reach as many people in my audience as possible.